Welcome back, everybody, to Markonomics 101 presents Hoot Loot, the place where you come to be informed, be amused, but never be misled. And I'm sitting here on the runway right here because, as most of you may not already know, although you've probably guessed, I am a model. And I am wearing, as you can see here, Honey Pearl in honor of our birthday girl, Miss Katie Devsich, who is our art director, and she also has her own little clothing line called Honey Pearl, and I'm a model for Honey Pearl. So I just want to tell you all that today. And the show today is called Running Out of Tomorrows, and we're going to have a pretty interesting show. Let me tell you, things are really weird out there. That's all I got to tell you. So we also have the promotion going on with Bill Murphy, and right now he would be pretty interesting to get that subscription to La Metropole that we are going to have in the drawing pretty soon, because I'll tell you, he has more information, and I started reading some of his stuff this morning and some of the things that were going on in the gold market, and we'll talk a little bit about him today, but he talks all about them. So it's just one piece of an incredible component of what the hell is going on in this world right now, which is really, really weird. So with that, what I'd like to ask you to do is to please like and subscribe down there, okay? And we will be right back with the charts. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to show you the charts right now, and this show is called Running Out of Tomorrows, and you know why we are running out of tomorrows? Because people have promised too much tomorrow that they can no longer deliver. They've written checks that their mouths can't cash, so to speak. We're talking about Washington, D.C., and why you should vote out the incumbents. Anyway, here's the most important chart right now that I'm looking at today, and that is the chart of the, this is margin debt to the GDP ratio. This shows how much people are borrowing against investments relative to the size of the economy. And as you can see, the number right now is like climbed to an amount even higher than 2000, higher than any time in history. And this thing is we're just running out of tomorrows. Yes, this is a long-term chart, but at some point this thing is going to come back down, and it's going to be a nasty, nasty fall. This is another chart we're going to talk, and what's going to make it a nasty fall is this thing we keep calling inflation. And I think we brought that up at first here at Inflation Nation a long, long time ago, that something like that was coming down the pike. And all of a sudden, that's all people can talk about, and for good reason. Here's some of the components right here on this little chart that I want you to look at of the, of the inflation rate, or the PCE, which is the government's favored description of inflation, and this supposedly averages like 2%. Yeah, right. You see, they take things that are really heavily moving and they weight them very low. So like, oh no, nobody eats anything. That kind of thing. Anyway, here's we're going to go to Bitcoin here, and Bitcoin all of a sudden is starting to lose a little bit of its coin, possibly because people are starting to catch on to the fact that the fabulous show that we did not too long ago, about Bitcoin, called Bitcoin Bites Back. If you watch that, you're going to understand that this is not exactly what you are led to believe it is. Okay, now I'm going to show you something a lot cooler than that. This is a hoot coin. All right, and I'm going to show you because our birthday girl, she can't be here today, but she is the artiste of this beautiful hoot coin right here. We're going to make hoot buckles right here. Okay, see that right there? I don't know what you're going to do with the boot buckle, but maybe you feel like in a country mood. And we have a little hoot keychain, or you can kind of, I'll leave it up to your imagination. But in any event, though, and I of course have my hoot keychain that I always use. So, I use my own. I love this stuff personally. But today I'm a mouth for Honey Pearl. Okay, so we're going to go on here, and Bitcoin right now looks like it's falling again. And these things are starting to catch on with Bitcoin. I think people are starting to question it a lot more and what this thing is all about. And the next support area is about 20,000. Very likely it's going to go down rather than up. We'll see. Once something like this has gone down about 60%, it usually doesn't have a bounce back to it other than just a bear market bounce. It means that the market's over. Tesla, this is our other favorite canary in the coal mine. Right here, this looks like a pair of bear flags, and my best gut feel right now is that Tesla looked pretty good there for a couple days, but all of a sudden reversed on Friday, and this thing might be breaking down from a bear flag. We'll see, but the Nasdaq does have other components that look pretty healthy, so I don't know. We're going to talk about Elon one of these days in great length, but today is not that day. Dow Jones Industrials are, possibly in a bull flag. I don't know. They may have broken down. They may not have. There's a lot of reasons to think the market's going to continue to go up, and a lot of illogical reasons to think it's going to go up, and a lot of logical reasons to think it's going to go down. But it continues to go up, and that's one of the points about today. Charts are so important to keep you from using your logic because you can't. You just can't in this game. The Nasdaq 100. Here you go. Overvaluation personified, and it continues to go up. I had to eat Velcro last week or last show because of it, because we couldn't, weren't allowed to eat real crow. Thank God I'm not going to make one of those predictions again. But this thing is chugging up, and I don't know. We'll look at some of the components in a minute. S&P 500 still looking pretty good. It's in an ascending wedge, but everything's in an ascending wedge, and everything keeps going up all the time, all the time, all the time. Oh, sorry about that. My shrink says that I've got to, be very, very expressive with my emotions. Thank you. All right, so the S&P Small Cap Index here. Now, this index made a slight higher high, and it could go either way. I mean, this market could go either way. That's the whole point. We're teeter-tottering. The Dow Jones Transportation is starting to look like they're breaking down, or they were carrying the market up. But hard to say. U.S. dollar. Now, this one, please. Someone explain this to me. Why is the dollar going up? Why is the dollar going up? It's like, it's so funny. This is like sentiment. Everybody thinks the dollar should go down, me included, so it doesn't go down. We all think it should go down because the Fed is just pouring them out there at 120 billion a month or something, buying mortgage-backed securities and all the little machinations that they do to keep the truth from being known to you. They paint themselves in a little box. How this thing goes up, I just don't know. Who would want a dollar unless it costs more to print a sheet of toilet paper? Maybe that would be the reason people start buying dollars. I don't know. The CRB continues to be higher, although its rate of speed has slowed down, and it may even be a bear flag. So we've got to watch out here because there are signs the economy is turning down after this little stupid stimulus spurt. I know that word always bugs me, but today is okay. All right. The Dow Jones REIT Index, these are the real estate investment trusts, and everybody says, it's real estate in a bubble, it's real estate in a bubble. No, it's not in a bubble. The Case-Shiller Index last month had the largest year-over-year increase in like 30 years, 15%. They're running at double digits every single month. Many cities are running at double digits year over year. And right now, real estate is unfortunately, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, it's not in a bubble. It is reacting to the fact that it is producing more dollars, that it is in limited supply, and dollars are an unlimited supply, which is why they go up. I mean, I don't know. I really don't get it. But I think this is actually an accurate portrayal of the dollar. Crude oil also, same thing I would say here. Here you see $75, on certain grades of crude oil right now. This is about 72 on this West Texas Intermediate. But I mean, this is not going up for really much more than, we're generally seeing a price level expansion here, especially in commodity items, which are not easily, the supply for them does not change quickly when the demand for them does. So that's why you have big price swings there. Unleaded gasoline, we're seeing that continue to move higher. Same with natural gas. Look at that, just spurted out, broke out of a sideways pattern. This thing right winter time. Well, actually, it's springtime, so people start stocking up on it in advance of winter. It's breaking out. It's not. It's also signaling higher prices. Lumber. We showed you this as an exception. Lumber has lost like 60% from its high. I don't believe this is an inflation. Concept here. This is something that was just, people got desperate for that last sheet of lumber, something like that they needed to finish a house, and paid anything for it. And then all of a sudden, there was just no demand for it at anywhere near that price. And I think it's going down now to what its equilibrium price is. But I really think this was just a temporary move in lumber. The Invesco Agriculture Fund looks to me like it has broken out of a descending wedge. Food prices are definitely moving higher. There's no doubt about it. I mean, every week, whether it's meat products, whether it's produce products, something is in short supply every single week, every single time you order. It's just really, it's coming down the pike here. Livestock index, and this is one thing. Meat, sometimes, maybe, if you're lucky, maybe, no, I don't think so, unless you have a mask or whatever. You put all these OSHA rules and health rules, regulations, and all that, and then transporting and all that kind of stuff. And no, prices going up, and people are substituting out, and this is helping. So sugar is also another component of food prices. I mean, it's a bigger component than you think, and we eat an awful lot of sugar, and this thing continues to go up. It's sort of hitting kind of a flag here, flattening a little bit out, but it still looks like it's in a big bull market. And again, this is why all of these items are costing more money. Cereals and whatever you buy at the grocery store. The base metals fund, they could, they're consolidating is what it looks like to me here. I don't think they've broken down. They're in a bull flag, a downward facing, a downward sloping flag. They're, tin, nickel, these things are just running out, and they are not in plentiful supply. Steel apparently is just really hard to come by right now. Iron is hard to come by. And it's really pretty interesting. Zinc, this includes like zinc and tin and things like that. This is palladium. Palladium has come down a little bit to support. This one, has had a great run though, and we'll still stay bullish if it stays above 2,500. This is platinum right here. Platinum has broken down a little bit, and I also forgot to put platinum in there too, by the way. So shame on me. I guess I'll take my little thing here. Yeah, that's sorry about that. Okay. So platinum is also took a big the swath down, and that's kind of interesting because you'd think that a lot of these kinds of metals, rare type of metals, would do well. They're not all of a sudden starting to do as well. Base metals are still doing great, and all kinds of inflation is doing great. Okay, now on to gold. Now this has been an interesting week for gold because gold had the Bureau of International Settlements agreement this week, and it ruled in favor of physical gold as opposed to paper gold, and yet didn't seem to have an impact on the price. Now I would defer to Bill Murphy on this, and this is one of the reasons you want La Metropole, is to get answers to questions like this. I'm still looking at this personally, but I'll tell you this, I sure still don't understand it, how that could have passed, and you could see this kind of price action in gold. It's behaving just absolutely terribly. And the same thing can be said about silver. Silver's also breaking down. I just, for the life of me, don't understand why this is going on right here. And here are some of the miners. These are some of the stocks that mine them. They're going nowhere. They're just breaking down right and left. So it doesn't. I just don't understand why. But this is a perfect environment for precious metals. They stink. I just don't know why. But this is why charts are so important for your discipline. Because right now I'd be saying, hey, inflation, this and that, and pounding it. Nothing that I view as logical is occurring right now. I can only describe illogic to you, which is what I'm doing today. Today's a day of describing illogic in a logical way. Oh my God, what an assignment. Okay, here are 3-month Treasury bills. Now, here's another exercise in illogic. The Federal Reserve, which sets short-term interest rates, now they set them, the federal funds rate is set at 0 to 0.25. In other words, 0 to 1/4% in that range, so to speak. Okay, now here 3-month bills are trading at 40 basis points above that range. What that tells me, what that tells them, and what that tells everybody, except Sergeant Schultz, I see nothing. I hear nothing. He was on Hogan's Heroes. Sergeant Schultz. Oh, never mind. Anyway, so 3-month Treasury bills. I'm sorry, Jay. You're not going to have a chance to decide as to when to raise rates. I think the market has made that decision for you. They're going to be raised this year. Okay, this year. All right, let's keep going. 5-year rates are doing pretty good, almost near a new high, and the 10-year rates kind of sort of more sideways than anything else, but still within the range, but not looking all that great, I have to say. The 30-year Treasury bills look like they've even broken down. They've been trading at 205. Now I got a question for you. Who the hell would buy a 30-year Treasury bill of the United States yielding 2.05%? knowing what this country does to you, does to people who lend it money at 2.05%? Who would buy a piece of paper like that? Let me think. You have to think about the dumbest person that you can think of. Oh, bureaucrats. Bureaucrats, the government would buy that kind of stuff. Of course they would. Okay, good. Thank God. I just couldn't figure it out because nobody I know lends knowing that they're going to lose money. It's already hard enough collecting from people, but if you already know that you're they're losing money just for the privilege of lending you money, that's just a great thing. These are called TIPS, Treasury Inflation Protected Securities. These have accreting principal. In other words, the principal on these, the value actually accretes at a certain amount above the CPI. So in other words, it builds, I think, 1.75 CPI into it, and it accretes above it. So these protect you against the CPI inflation. The CPI, unfortunately, doesn't measure most forms of inflation quite as accurately as maybe some of us live by. But, that's the way it goes. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about cryptos here, other than Bitcoin, which really looks like it's taking a bit. But this is Bitcoin Cash right here. And again, set down 75%. Don't really want to say more about it. But when you look at this kind of a move in the cryptos, think a second before you start getting all excited about buying them here. These things have already fallen 75%. Okay? You haven't missed anything. Don't worry about missing out on things. If you really think that there's something here, there's a good time for you to do some due diligence on them. I did a little bit. I've done it quite a bit more than most people have who bought them. But let me tell you something. You got to at least look at, understand what you're buying. You're not buying anything with this. This thing could go to zero. I don't know what the hell there is. Ethereum, there is something. There is a management team. There is an organization. There's something. Now, I won't comment on value because I don't know. And frankly, I don't know. I haven't done any kind of analysis, but I at least know that someone's there, that there's actually a person that is somewhat responsible for this, and a management team that's with him. And that makes a hell of a difference. I mean, you have to know who the hell is on the other side, because otherwise, I'm not encouraging shareholder lawsuits, but, good management is a very good thing to have, and it's always important to check out whether you have good management. If you have no management, then you're doing about as bad as you can do. Let me just put it that way. All right, Litecoin is kind of a Bitcoin light, so to speak, and this thing's fallen 75%, peak to drop also. Now, Ripple is a real company, but they sell tokens, okay? Now, there's a company called Ripple Labs. It's in the Bay Area, and Ripple Labs sells Ripple tokens. Ripple tokens are like tokens. They fly with money to Mexico instead of Western Union, okay? So there's, they basically have a purpose. They have a value, but lots of people can make these. This is not a hard thing to do as far as I know. Now, I'm not going to tell you I'm the world's biggest expert on Ripple or any of these because I really, I have certain doubts about them. But the point is, and I'm not trying to talk you into them or out of them, just to understand that there are differences that are significant in some of these. You don't own anything in Bitcoin, for example. You own nothing. You own absolutely nothing but a password. And, by God's good grace, may you never lose it. Okay. All right, so Apple now, we're going on to the mega caps. Apple has actually broken higher here. It looked like it might break down. It looks like it's still going to stay within this giant bear flag. Doesn't mean that the NASDAQ is in for a huge, huge move, but it could be because Apple is the biggest stock. It's like somebody I know called it a country. It is a country. Amazon, here, this one bounced off of resistance at 35.50. It's come down quite a bit. So, last week it kind of looked like it was breaking out, and this week it looks like it's breaking down. Who knows? 1 week, one way. All right, so. What's up, Mark? This is for you. This is for Mark Zuckerberg. What's up? Hey, dude, what's up? Facebook is an incredible company. It's up to $1 trillion in market cap. They want to put a $200 billion valuation on WhatsApp. Now, I'm going to tell you, in the not too distant future, we're going to have a whole lot of stuff for you. We've shown you some of these QR codes and WhatsApp and Instagram conversations I've had and some other things. But I'm going to tell you something. This is a criminal organization right here, okay? There's stuff this stuff puts out the welcome mat to scammers of every kind, the Forex Bitcoin scammers that you hear about. Just puts out the welcome mat to them. But God forbid you should say something that isn't politically correct. My man friend Mr. Zuckerberg up in his offices up there, with all of that customer service that you get up there. Woo! So I just have a question. What's that, Mark? All right, let's go on. Microsoft is looking like it's in the top part of an ascending wedge, but here's another one. You got to be really careful here because it's already gone up so far over the last few years that you're going to take some time. You're going to need time to sort of work this off. This will be dead money for 5 to 10 years. Okay, no matter how well it does, it can't really price in much more good news at this point. Nvidia has become sort of the new superstar of semiconductors. Look at that right there. I mean, it's just boomed. And this is one of the reasons that the Nasdaq 100 is not broken down is because of stocks like Nvidia taking sort of the leadership in this index. The semiconductors, of which it's part of, have broken to new highs, but they are in what we think is a bear flag. That is a bear flag is a flag that is sloping up, following an uptrend, following a move up. So usually what happens is you have moves up, then you have counter moves. It moves up and counter like a jigsaw or like a sawtooth. But in so here you have a bear flag, and you don't really have a sawtooth. You have sort of a lesser movement in the same direction. That's what I mean by a bear flag. And typically these don't tend to be good patterns. So it means that you might see marginal new highs, but probably not, really all-time new highs. We'll see. The bank index, not looking as good right now. We talked about this last time, but the yield curve is starting to flatten quite a bit. The yield curve is the comparison between price and time to maturity. So like 3-month T-bills, we're right now yielding 40 basis points. 30-year bills 205, so you'd have a yield curve. That was a differential 1.65. Well, if you looked at that differential, maybe 60 days ago, it could have been 2.25 instead of 1.65. That's called a flattening, where you have the differential flattens the two out. So that's a flattening is typically not a good sign for the economy. So keep your eyes out on that. And it typically doesn't help banks because banks borrow short and lend long. So when you borrow short at short-term rates, but you lend at long-term rates, you sometimes have a mismatch, and that can be a problem too. But you also want as big of a spread as possible if you're a bank, because that's where you make your money. Okay, broker-dealer index. Here's another one in a bear flag. They continue to do really well. There were something like 28 IPOs or something like that this week. Unbelievable. I mean, these guys just go to the cleaners. I should say I should have said to the bank, but they are banks. What the hell? Here's American Express for you. American Express making new highs, doing really well. Discover, another credit card company, doing really, really, really well. Well, actually, bear flag, but still there is still some money around, left to chase things. Is what it seems like to me. That people really haven't tightened up yet, but it looks like it's happening sporadically, and we'll show you some cases of that. J.P. Morgan is starting to roll over, and that's probably a good bellwether of the banks. So we're on to MasterCard. MasterCard looks like it's in kind of a rounded dome top with a little bit of a slightly rising support line, but it looks like it might break down here. So the credit card companies are important because people buy a lot. They're very correlated to how much is spent on retail. Retail is 70% of the economy. Visa has been chugging this way on up. It looks like it's in a healthy uptrend. But, it's closer to, it could break down here. This is what's so incredible. Everything is like right at support, and you don't know which way it's going to go. It's like we're running out of tomorrows. How many more tomorrows can you have before this whole thing falls apart or goes to the moon? I don't know which, but it's going to happen. The airline index is kind of interesting because we talked about transportations is not doing as well. Well, really the rails are probably the strongest, but the airline index shows you kind of consumer travel, and it's starting to break down. So, like American Airlines looks like it's broken down. I mean, I don't know how they stayed up this high this long. All they do is lose money. They don't have anybody sitting in them. No one wants to get a colonoscopy, followed by having a mask stuck over your face, and then being forced to sit, being forced to deal with all that crap going on. Plus all the stuff that happens at airports, which is so much fun. So, if you ask me, staying home is just fine. But FedEx is a really important company to the economy because it is really very highly correlated to the amount of goods that are sent around. FedEx had an earnings report last week and lost something like $11 on the report, even though it beat revenue expectations and it beat earnings expectations. But it's struggling to stay where it is, and we're keeping an eye on it. But again, it's teetering on the edge, just kind of like last episode. Teetering, except this episode is no more tomorrow's. Last episode was the teetering, or 2 episodes ago. I don't know. Anyway, this is JetBlue, or as the French would call it, JetBleu. That's why I put only, I didn't put UE, because I wanted to make it the French version of JetBleu. So, JetBleu is, that one has broken down from support, as you can see. I have it in the ellipse, and that's actually a pretty well run airline from what I understand. So that one has broken down. UPS, the other big shipper of goods right there, it's kind of like it broke out, when all of a sudden their shortages were recognized as driving up margins of these companies, and then it kind of went to plateau, then it broke back down. This thing could go anywhere, and one to keep an eye on. But again, it's like we're sitting here and we're running out of tomorrows. How many more times can we just delay the inevitable here? So Nike is a look at Nike. I mean, can you believe this? I can only gather that stimulus checks paid for $500 pairs of sneakers. I mean, I don't know what the hell. This one just blows my mind. Anyway, Walmart, attention Walmart shoppers, apparently you're buying more. Thank God. Because look at that, you just broke out of a rounded top there. So Walmart is starting to do well on the retail side. So, there's some stuff that's breaking down. There's some stuff that's kind of like teeter-tottering, and it's all over the place. Target, look at that. Up and away. Just like that song by the, what was that group called again? The Fifth Dimension. Up and away. All right, now Target is just performed very well. It's done very well in its online business, and this one just keeps going up and up and up. Walgreens we haven't covered before, but it's a Dow component, and Walgreens is Walgreens is going to be the one that's going to benefit from jabbing you. So if we have another order for jabs or more of those around, or boosters or whatever the hell it is, there's your place to go. But Walgreens does have a good shopping stuff and all that. It actually is a full store, more than a drugstore. But they were awarded one of the premier jab recipients, or jab providers. And a couple more here we want to show. Infrastructure stocks, because they're the ones. Look, these things. See, these show how the market works. These ran up. Look how much they ran up in anticipation of the infrastructure bill, and then the bill passes, and the stock breaks down. Okay, and that's the way the markets work. They figured some guy figured a long time ago. A bunch of people figured, gosh, this thing is so low. They're bound to rebuild bridges and do stuff like that. So let's buy this thing now. And here, sure enough, here's it. The news comes. People buy it. He sells it, and that's the way the market works. It goes up in anticipation. It sells off on the news. 3M company, kind of the same thing. Here's a company that also a big recipient of domestic spending, and it is it's just an amazing. It's amazing how it anticipated the infrastructure bill. Once they got their bill, they were gone. They were done. Nobody cared about them anymore. And then finally, last, we got the home builders. Here, it looks like they've broken down. Now, I don't know how this is possible. This one is another one. I'm supposed to sound smart here, and I'm going to sound like the biggest idiot here, because I don't know what's going on. I mean, this is another one. Home builders. Home builders look like they've broken out to me, like in a positive manner. Yet I don't understand. I don't understand how expensive building materials, inflation, and all that is going to help you with it. But that's the market. You got to always listen to the market. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for tuning in today. I want to say once again, happy birthday to our birthday girl, Katie Dempsey, our art director. Look at that. That's my keychain that I use with my Hootloot coin. And if you would like and subscribe right down there, and whatever you do to someone you love, do not do this to someone you love, please. I ask of you, I beg of you. And we will see you next weekend with a whole bunch of really neat stuff.